Are you being investigated by HMRC? Have you got an inquiry? Have you been scamming HMRC? Have you been underpaying your tax? If the answer to any of these is yes, this is a podcast you need to be watching, because I've got Jock here from Vatable, an ex-HMRC investigator of 25 years. He's here to share his expertise, hints and tips with you. All you Muslims out there, the Quran has 600 pages. Christians, the Bible has 1,200 pages. But the UK tax code has got 20,000 pages, which is just as well, because we've got Jock, an ex-HMRC tax inspector here. He's from a company called Vatable, and he's going to help us decode the 20,000 pages. Welcome.
This is going to be a long session, isn't it? Eh?
Okay, so it's ridiculously long, the UK tax regulation, Jock. Give us an overview of what is actually happening at HMRC. Over here, people are panicking. They're getting investigated left, right, centre. Tell us what's happening inside HMRC.
These days, HMRC have got a different head on. Back in the 80s, 90s, they had a fantastic approach to it. They could actually engage with taxpayers and work with them. They've gone from 150,000 staff down to less than 50. They're struggling to cope with the numbers.
Right.
You know, there's 5 million businesses in the UK, nearly half of them are VAT registered. If you're VAT registered, you've got about a 10% chance that you're going to get an inquiry. So you might get your number coming out the hat every year. So you've got to be prepared for what's going to get thrown at you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what triggers a tax investigation? Is there a random button that HMRC press, or are they clues that they look for? Like, tell us more about that.
Right. Generally speaking, you will have a profile based on the stuff that you declare. If you have a random month, quarter, period of trading or whatever, plus or minus, that will look odd in the profile. Therefore, you might get spat out. You might not put returns in on time. You might not make payments on time. They might see you on social media. Heaven forbid people do that, Ajmal. They will use all that information about your lifestyle. They might use third-party data.
Okay.
If you're on a takeaway shop, they will use Uber Eats and Just Eats and all the rest of it to compare to what you're declaring on your self-assessment and on your corporation tax return.
Okay. One of the questions we had from the viewers was, has HMRC got access to their bank accounts?
What's happening more frequently than ever are HMRC are freezing bank accounts.
Right.
This is legitimised theft that we've got going on in this country now. So revenue, apart from not parting with any repayments, they're withholding money, but they're cancelling debts, cutting off their nose to spite their face, liquidating people when they're making decent offers to settle debts, and they're freezing bank accounts. Now what that means is that if they freeze your bank account for 6 months, on the flimsiest of reasons, they'll go to a court without even telling you, and they'll get a magistrate to grant an order saying that that account is frozen, right? And they've got nothing to back up their allegation, because the magistrate will take it at face value, because it's HMRC. Magistrates need to be asking better questions of these officers. When that money gets frozen, they can then forfeit whatever's in your bank. They'll just take it. So they're not even waiting for tax returns these days and chasing VAT debts or tax debts. They're just taking the money out of the bank. Okay. So businesses are as much under threat from the banks as they are from HMRC.
Are the banks obligated to inform HMRC of any suspicious activity?
So absolutely. Because the banks have got battered in recent years by fines and penalties, they've gone to the other extreme. So they're now putting in these suspect activity reports, a SAR.
Right.
So if anybody deposits £5 in a bank, they'll put an SAR into the National Crime Agency. That'll trigger into the police or revenue or whoever, and they'll put an AFO in place. We think it's a drug dealer, we think it's money laundering, we think it's this, that or the other.
Realistically, what amount of cash would you have to deposit into the bank for the bank to go, that's a little bit suspicious?
On paper, it shouldn't be more than 10k, right? But in reality, anything if there's a frequent pattern of small amounts,
right,
that looks iffy. Anything between 5 and 10k on a regular basis, so not above the threshold, but within that range, looks suspicious, and they'll trigger a SARS.
Right.
So you might get a routine inquiry. You might get an account freezing order
Okay.
that accuses you of something that you absolute rubbish.
Okay. Here's another thing, another question. A lot of business owners have got piles of cash in the house.
Of the Ajmal.
You know who you are. You know who you are.
Those lucky people.
How dangerous is that from a tax/investigation/police point of view to be holding lots of cash? Now, a lot of people have got legitimate cash in the house. Like, I used to run a cash business. I was in the restaurant business before COVID. It was majority cash, but fortunately now it's all card payments. How much cash should you have in your house maximum?
What a question. I don't think we even had cash these days. I thought we were all cards
there's plenty
and
of cash. There's plenty.
Oh, is there? Right, very interesting. Well, the simple answer to that is if you have that at home, you are extremely vulnerable. Because if they put 2 and 2 together and make 6, as they normally do, they'll come round your house and they'll seize it. They'll take it from you.
That's interesting because sometimes I hear of these dodgy criminals. You see the reports. Oh, the police raided their house. They had £20,000 worth of cash in their house. Rewind the clock back 10, 15 years. Like so many business owners, that was just common. You know, now we've got it in the bank accounts. But when it was a cash economy, I'm thinking £20,000. That's not really a lot of cash to have.
I know, but the point is, they're taking the cash. It's a lazy way to raising money. So if they think and they can come up with the flimsiest of excuse, right? They'll get an account freezing order. They'll get justification to come and do the knock at your house. I had a client the other week, 7 o'clock, his house got done, his mum's house got done, his suppliers got done, and his staff's house all got done at the same time in the morning.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, right, carry on.
It was a knock. So they searched all those properties, took away multiple items. I'm not going to say what kind of items they were because client confidentiality and all the rest of it. But this guy's running a legitimate business. He didn't have any cash in the house, as it happened on that occasion, and they've gone away empty-handed. Other people, they've just rocked up at the yard, right? Because we deal with a lot of interesting clients. They've just walked away with 30 grand in cash. I don't know how much of that made its way back to the office, though, but that's what they took out of the premises.
Interesting. You mentioned something there. So say, for example, one of the viewers has got a cash business and he's got like 20, 30, 40,000 pounds worth of cash. So what you're saying is if he goes and hides it in his mum's house or his brother's house, they could still be exposed?
Yeah. So, I mean, I see AFOs. What happens with revenue is that they'll look at a supply relationship, a supply chain. They're really after somebody over there.
Right.
But everybody in that spider's web of supply will get AFOs and they'll all get swamped.
AFO stands for?
Account freezing order.
Account freezing
So that
order.
means that they'll all get frozen.
Right.
And then they get a world of pain for at least 6 months where they've got to trot out all their suppliers, but then the family's accounts get blocked and, you know, it just reverberates. The ripples extend far and wide.
Interesting. Okay.
But all revenue are doing is fact-finding to get enough evidence to go after that person that's over there that they really want.
Right. So any viewers watching this who have got maybe 30, 40,000 pounds or 100,000 pounds worth of cash stashed in their house, where should they hide it?
I think they need to go on holiday with a suitcase, probably.
Okay.
Or they need to legitimise it by acquiring assets.
Very good. Okay. Now, you're from a company called Vatable. I know it's your own company and you help people who are being investigated. Total transparency, I had an inquiry and one of Jock's colleagues helped me and it was fantastic. It seems to be the case where if you were doing something wrong, you could get caught. But now it seems to be, even if you're running a legitimate business, you could still end up in their nets somehow. Tell me more about that.
This is the mindset. It's a massive shift from where we used to be. And I know there's been a change of senior management personnel at Revenue Towers.
Right.
The mindset is that everybody's guilty now until they're proven innocent.
Right.
Like I said, you've got a 10% chance of getting pulled out of the hat for an inquiry. That might start with corporation tax. It could lead into VAT, PAYE, everything, every aspect of what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's a philosophy now, or it seems to be with revenue, that everybody's guilty. We're not going to bother about reasonable offers of payment. We're just going to get all this debt off. There's £40 billion worth of debt outstanding to revenue at the minute. They're taking in about £1 trillion a year, right, for the country. Somebody is making a career out of being the goody two-shoes that's swamped the revenue debt and got it squashed down to a sensible level by whatever means they can do it. Liquidations, bankruptcies, they're going after everything they can do.
Because we're already paying so much tax in this country, and now this heavy-handed approach, is it not the case that this could just tip people over the edge? Talk to me about the mental well-being of the people that are being investigated.
So 90% of our job is counselling, right? People come to us, and I'm not exaggerating. We've pulled guys off the bridge, that were about to jump and all the rest of it. They can't even talk to their families. They're withholding this. They've got Cop 9, that's Could Have Practiced 9. We regard Cop 9s as like the shield and traitors, where you're protected from going behind the door. But there's guys with that won't even speak to their families about it. So they're burying all this stuff. Now, the trend that we see is this is predominantly a male thing.
Yeah.
And, blokes will never go to the doctors. Blokes will never, they'll always leave everything last minute.
Yeah.
They're leaving all this pain with revenue to the last minute. So we're getting cases coming when they've been served a petition for a wind-up next week. You know what? We're expected to be Paul Daniels, you know what I mean? Pull a rabbit out of the hat. But this is symptomatic of the mental state that blokes go through where they leave it all too late.
And do you know why that is? And I've experienced this. There's no one to talk to. Like, who do you talk to? There is absolutely no one. You can't talk to your family because you don't want to burden them with the pressures. You can't talk to your colleagues because you might come across as weak. You can't talk to people in your network because they might judge you. It's a very, very lonely place.
It's tough, and I think that there's obviously a lot of stubbornness with blokes, and there's a lot of pride issues with blokes. They've got to get over that. Yeah. I had dinner with a client last night, and one of the big game changers for him, he joined a group called the Andy's Man's Club. It's just a load of blokes sitting around talking about what's going on. It's revolutionised things for them just by being able to talk and get things out there. Yeah. And that's what we need more of.
Talk to me about these sole traders who are operating just under the VAT threshold. Let's say, for example, you've made just above the threshold, 20, 30, 40,000 pounds above the threshold and not declared it. What are the implications of not declaring that? What are the penalties?
So the first thing to do with that is not panic, because you might have had an exceptional period of trading. Right. You might know that next year you're actually only going to make 80. Right. What you've got to do in those circumstances is you've got to write to revenue and explain what's happened. And you could apply for an exception from VAT registration. Right. So it's unusual. It's not going to happen again. We know it's not going to happen. It's happened for these reasons. Oh, right, okay. So it's not an obligation that you will automatically be VAT registered. Right. Yeah. Now, what people can do is they can obviously go on holiday for a month. They can manage their turnover in a legitimate way. If they've exceeded and they know that they've gone over that, they have to register or apply for an exception within 30 days of that knowledge. Okay. Ajmal's
plumbing business. I go around fixing toilets and sinks. I've made £140,000, and I know next year's going to be the same. What's going to happen to me?
So if you apply late, you should have registered. You don't register and they find out about it and make you register. Yeah. You get a 30% penalty. It's called a belated notification penalty of the tax that you ought to have been declaring from that point in time to where you are now.
That's interesting. 30%.
Aye. Plus interest.
Plus interest.
And interest, by the way, is 8% if you owe them, 3% if they owe you. That's if they pay you it back because they hang on to it for as long as they can.
Right, gosh, that's interesting, yeah. Okay, so what would you say to the guys out there that think, I'm just a small-time electrician, I'm just like a little... HMRC will never find me. What would you say to those guys?
I think those days are far gone. In the world of social media and online presences, kill that. Everybody knows what everybody's up to, You can still be that guy and you can still not have to charge VAT to your domestic customers by managing your turnover. So this goes back into another area then. You would think that those guys would rely on good advice. Yeah?
Yep.
I'd put 90% of accountants in a room and I'd shoot a lot of them, because the jobs that we get across our desk, the common denominator is bad advice.
Yep.
Yeah? We've got a team in Birmingham. All they do is professional indemnity cases for negligence, and they'll go after these people. So, example, accountant charges a client $1,000 a month for 36 months, doesn't file a single return from.
Yep.
No year-end accounts, no self-assessment. He's took 36 grand from them. The guy's got a 140 grand bill.
Yeah.
From non-filing.
Do you know, interesting you say that. Bad advice actually cost me a lot of money in the early years of my business. I was a consultant in London, working for Accenture, started my own business, and I think for the first 5-6 years, I just did whatever the accountants said, and it was very bad advice. I ended up paying so much more corporation tax than I should have done.
Yep.
I was running a growing business at that time, and it was my responsibility. I wanted to invest back into the business. At no point did the accountant say, you know what, you're paying X amount corporation tax. Why didn't you just invest that in your business and your corporation tax bill will be zero? I got such bad advice in the early years.
What these guys like to do, they like to do the nice easy stuff, compliance.
Yeah.
They'll do the year-end accounts, they'll do the tax returns. What they don't like to do is actually look for some value for you, because that's a bit of work for them.
Yeah.
It's a bit tough, that, you know.
Yeah.
They're really, really good at what they do, right? They can go out and they can sell, they can make stuff, they can deliver services. Brilliant at what they do. The back office is pants.
Yeah.
But they trust people. They put the trust in these advisors and think the world's going to be fine. I'm telling you, a million cases that we get across our desk, the common denominator is bad advisors.
Interesting.
So do your homework before you appoint.
Yep.
Double check all the time. Put them to task to prove that they're doing something for you. The standard accountant, and it's all fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Excuse me, but that's bullshit. You've got to be pressing them and finding out what they're up to.
Exactly.
For you.
Okay, here's another one. How small do you need to be? What is the income threshold where HMRC would turn around and say, not even worth our time, in the bin? What is that? What is that figure? Is it 10,000, 5,000, 50,000, 40,000? What is that figure? What's
their tax strategy then about yielding money? Yeah, It's an interesting one, because you've got these massive corporations that won't even base themselves onshore in the UK.
Yeah.
They'll shelter offshore, no corporation tax in the UK, or if they are, they'll do a handshake settlement meeting with somebody from revenue at one point a year and pay next to bugger all tax.
Yep.
Yeah. Everybody down the food chain, and the pyramid obviously goes massively like that, down to the level that you're describing.
Yep.
They'll go after everybody else. They think the smaller you are, the easier a target you are to get money out of you.
But say, for example, someone earning £30,000 as a little makeup artist, for example, would they even go after someone earning that amount of money, £30,000? Okay.
So back in the day when I was running national campaigns in risk and intelligence, we were finding 10, 20 million pound criminal fraud cases.
Right.
The lawyers wouldn't even take them on because they were VAT jobs.
Right.
The inland revenue element of the organisation, customs and excise was great. The inland revenue, when it came together as HMRC, it went down the toilet. But the income tax people, they were sending out 500 quid PAYE letters and thinking they'd won the jackpot. It's absolutely madness. So they'll go after really small amounts, but in the multiples. All the money's in the multiples for them. But you saw what happened in the budget at the end of last year. They were thinking about putting the VAT registration threshold down to 30 grand. What an absolute catastrophe that would have been, because all that cash that you're talking about would have just multiplied exponentially.
Yeah, exactly.
People would have gone back into cash.
So basically what you're saying is no one is safe. Even if you're earning £20,000 or £15,000, you are on their radar.
I'm afraid so. That's the world we live in now, because everything's visible.
Yep.
If you're on Meta, any of the platforms, you're visible.
Yep. And just tell me a little bit about your experience. You worked for HMRC as an inspector for how long? What was your role and what did you do?
So I spent 25 years there,
right.
And I started at the bottom and ended up having a lovely little role wandering about, thinking up ways of catching VAT people.
Right.
But I was running multi-agency campaigns, so we'd have British Transport Police or DWP or the immigration officer, and we'd be going after scrap metal dealers or gangmasters, or, you know, we'd pick a sector and we'd go after it. Or I'd be dreaming up other ways of catching them, you know. But then after 25 years, something caught my eye and I decided to jump ship. Right. That was about 20 years ago.
And now you're helping people that previously you would have been prosecuting.
Gamekeeper turned poacher is the classic term for me, and all the guys that work for us, we're all ex-HMRC, but we've all done 25, 30 years.
Right, okay, good. And I would imagine there's a lot of people out there, a lot of business owners, they're not waking up trying to dodge the tax man or trying to manipulate, you know, their tax arrangements, but somehow they just get caught up in it. Are HMRC quite sympathetic to those people that have maybe just been caught up in some complexity, or is it just one rule for everyone?
They don't give a shit. We've had people, terminal illness, family members dying, you name it. They're absolutely shameless in their approach to taxpayers. Shameless. It's unethical what they're doing to people.
How much longer can the country carry on like this? It's almost getting to the point, it's like borderline criminal now.
I think it is. And obviously there's a political agenda, right? Mm-hmm. And we've seen the exodus of all the entrepreneurs and all the rest of it. I keep going back to, I can't get it out of my head. Look at the Singapore tax regime, right? No corporation tax, no inheritance tax, very little corporation tax, might be 5%, and run that through all the other taxes. The Singapore economy is absolutely booming because they want to encourage people to employ people, to earn money, pay for services in the country and all the rest of it.
Exactly. And I think it's now got to the point in the UK, I've been running a business for the past 15 years, it's harder than it's ever been. There is no incentive for me to really grow my business and take on lots of people. I'm just going to get hammered at every possible turn for as much tax as possible, to the point where many people, including myself, I sometimes think, what is the point?
What is the point? And this country is anti-business.
Yeah.
It's anti-business. They don't want you to make money. Almost. That's what it feels like. And like you say, if you do, you're going to get battered. And if they don't get you, the banks are going to rob money off you anyway.
Well, there is a chance that the entire tax system could be scrapped. You know that? Because income tax started as a temporary war measure by William Pitt the Younger. He introduced income tax in 1799 to fund the Napoleonic Wars, and it was meant to be temporary. Yeah. So we never know, it might still get cancelled. The whole
I need to find a new career.
The whole income tax, and we'll all be much richer. I've got another question here. Do Turkish barbers, vape shops and kebab shops that only take cash get investigated?
Yes, yes they do. If they haven't been so far, they're definitely on the radar. They're not the only sector.
Okay.
There's a number of other sectors that I know will be coming up for grabs pretty soon.
Right. And what are they going to be, do you think?
What do I think?
Give us a clue.
Oh, I couldn't possibly, because we're about to make an absolute... These people need support, and right. I can't think of anybody better to support them than ourselves.
Right, okay.
But we keep close to the revenue so we know which direction the wind's blown.
Okay.
I mean, they've just done one... I'll give you, for example, the security industries. They've just done a campaign with them. They're your doormen and your bouncers and all the rest of it. You know, on your pubs and your hospitality events and all that kind of stuff. Okay. They've just done a deal to try and clean up that industry.
Right.
Not gone. They think it's gone great. I don't think it's gone as well as it could have done.
Right.
But there are other sectors like that are just untouched.
Okay. Over here, we've got Ajmal Mushtaq. I get a letter in from HMRC. Ajmal, you are being investigated for VAT fraud and every other fraud you can think of. How should I deal with HMRC? Give me some hints and tips to deal with HMRC. By the way, that's just an example. I'm not really.
That's not real life.
Yeah.
So the first thing is you've got to play a very closed bat, because any information you give them will be used against you. So you only give them specifically what they're asking for.
Interesting. Yeah?
Okay. Ideally, you remove yourself from the conversation, put somebody in the middle to referee it for you. Could be us, or a similar firm, All I'm saying is an advisor to buffer you from them.
Yep.
Because particularly in firms where there's multiple directors or senior management teams, they'll speak to a number of people so that they can get different answers.
Right.
And try and get a chink in the armour, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's another interesting thing where if you look at the time limit, so inquiry opens on you. Revenue have got to get a determination with you within 12 months of starting that inquiry for direct tax.
And what happens if they don't
They're
meet
out
that
of time,
12?
they've missed the boat,
But
right?
can they not just get an extension from further up or close down that inquiry and restart a new
They're
one?
going to find that difficult. They're going to find it difficult. If they then started you another inquiry, it would have to be in a different window.
If you get investigated by HMRC and it goes over the 12-month period, what happens?
We're telling them to get stuffed.
Right. And then what happens back at HMRC?
They've got to close their inquiry.
Right.
They've got to write that off.
Interesting.
Now, on that, and this is where you've got to be very careful, they'll open an inquiry. Again, you give them the information that they ask for initially. There'll be an information request. Give them that. They've got 12 months from knowledge. You've given them that knowledge. They've got 12 months from that knowledge to issue an assessment.
Right.
Right? What they do, though, in the VAT world is that they'll go, oh, we need a bit more information.
Right.
So maybe 3 or 4 months later, there'll be another request comes out. What they're trying to do is they're trying to push that 12-month window further down the road.
Right.
So you resist that request for additional information and you say you've got everything you need. Make a determination.
Right.
Right? Push them to a conclusion.
Okay.
Yeah? Or back them past the 12-month period.
Interesting. Okay. I had a VAT inquiry about 8 years ago, and my approach was, well, I've got nothing to hide. I just stepped aside. Oh, there's all my EPOS systems. There's all my tills. Help yourself.
Yeah.
And I remember the HMRC investigators or agents, whatever you call them. What do you call them? HMRC officers. They started looking on the EPOS system. And I know how complex this is, and they thought they got something, but there's just so much data there. What can you even do with it? That was my approach. I was just totally honest and say, there you go, take whatever you want. Should people do that?
No. I wouldn't advocate that.
Okay.
I'd listen. You've got to listen carefully to what they're asking for and understand why that inquiry's come about and what risk it is that they're trying to address.
Right.
Yeah. Then give them sufficient information to address that particular point.
Okay.
Now, I would argue the opposite if it comes to an account freezing order.
Right.
Because, particularly under proceeds of crime, because what they're arguing is that the money that you've introduced into your business is dirty.
Yep.
From whatever source.
Right.
And that might be Turkish barbers or whatever it is that you think might be going on with those kind of businesses. So on those jobs, we go absolutely on the front foot. We get all the bank statements from dot one through to the current date, and we explain every single transaction and get them to break that evidence.
Okay.
And say, we're entirely clean. All the seed money that's gone into that business is clean. It's come from all these sources. Everything that's happened since, it's all been wire transfers, no cash, boom, boom, boom. Why is this guy under proceeds of crime?
Yep. Jock and I went for dinner, right? And we had a very interesting conversation. Proceeds of crime is a very serious term, but you said something to me that totally alleviated a lot of that concern. And that is, if you're running a legitimate business and you've made maybe an extra £50,000 and you've not declared it, you've got £50,000, that's not proceeds of crime, that is proceeds of
trade.
And that's okay. Can that be classed as proceeds of crime because you've not paid the tax on it?
Well, they would argue that you've knowingly concealed that.
Right.
You might just say that you've been a bit rubbish.
Right.
Yeah. And you've overlooked it, or for whatever reason, it might be money that you've taken on account or something like that towards future sale. Whatever it is, there might be an explanation for it that isn't necessarily something suspicious.
Right.
Yeah. But the term proceeds of crime used to be used very infrequently.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the go-to term now.
Yeah.
You know, because these magistrates, they were all lay magistrates. They think HMRC bandying around money laundering, proceeds of crime, bum bum bum, all the buzzwords.
Yeah.
Oh, this is scary stuff. This must be right.
Yeah.
It's not. It's absolutely shameless.
Ajmal's a huge drug dealer, right?
Oh, yeah.
I make millions in drugs. I've got so much cash lying around. Jock, what's the best way of cleaning up that cash? Give me some of the industry hints, tips and tricks that people are using to clean up that cash. Because I've got all this millions of pounds worth of cash in these cupboards here. How do you clean that up?
I think we've got maybe something like 130,000 hand car washes in the UK at the moment.
Right.
Obviously all operate on cash, don't they?
Right.
We seem to have high streets awash with barbers. Me and you have not been troubled by them for a long time. But there are tons of them about, all those convenience stores and all the rest of it, right? Plus the growth of takeaways and all that kind of stuff. Now, Revenue have got teams that will go out and they'll do invigilations, right? So we sat down in a lovely restaurant in Glasgow.
Yep.
What would normally happen in a restaurant scenario is somebody would come in at 7 o'clock, a couple would come in and have a meal. They'd count everybody in the restaurant. Somebody would come in at 8 o'clock, have a meal, and they would also count the amount of people in, and that would carry on all through the evening. The same thing happens in takeaway shops, by the way, because they'll sit outside and they'll count how many people go in the shops.
Yep.
Yeah. They will then come back a few days later and compare your daily declarations, your daily takings, to what they've witnessed. Yeah.
Okay.
And disprove it. If they disprove it and you've banked money way in excess, for example, of those takings that they think you ought to have taken, where's that cash come from?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It's not come from pizzas or Chinese food.
Yeah. So that's what people are doing. They're sort of taking legitimate businesses and then putting in more cash sales through the till.
They're not takeaway, they're laundrettes. That's what they are.
Right, okay. So that's the way to do it.
That is a way that is being established as being used at the moment.
Right, okay. And do you what actually happens from there? So say for example you've spotted a little barber shop. What do you do from an HMRC point of view? Do you get the police involved? Do you get different agencies involved? What happens then?
Yeah, I mean if it's blindingly obvious like that, the bankings far exceed what can happen on a little shop in a back street in a town that's not even central to anywhere. Right. That might have a crop upstairs. Right. You know, because let's just say I've got some clients and their electricity bills are massive.
Yep.
And I've said, that doesn't fit with the type of business that you're running.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a flat upstairs that we rent out.
Right.
Bosh. Yeah. So Revenue would come in as the first agency because that's the source of the inquiry and all the rest of it. But that would also lead into a multi-agency approach because you might end up with DWP because a lot of people at that level are also claiming universal credit.
Yep.
It's amazing how many people are still on universal credit, but they're earning cash jobs or whatever.
Yep.
And there might be other things. There might be immigration. There might be drugs. There might whatever it is.
How quickly do the different agencies coordinate and mobilise?
Well, back in the day when we were running things, we were all over it, you know, because we were going out, and if we were going to turn up somewhere, you turn up for a multi-agency approach. So you target an area, we're going to go and do these types of things and we're going to hit them.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a thing, you know, everybody thinks it'll all be fine, we can get away with this and we just wash it through.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Now let's talk, we mentioned barber shops. I want to defend barber shops because I've got very, very limited experience of barbershops. I own a barbershop. Like I own a property. It's converted into.
You rent it.
I own a property. It's being run as a barbershop. It's just very busy. And these days, back in our day, Jock, a few years ago, we would get a haircut every 6-7 weeks, maybe 2 months.
Oh yeah, young lads take care of themselves.
The skin fades. It's like every week they have to get a skin fade.
Yeah, but do we need 20 million of them in the UK? It don't stack up.
Is that not simple supply and demand? So I've got a 15-year-old son. He goes for a haircut, right? He comes back and I look at him and I said, "Did you get a haircut?" And he says, "Yeah." They get like maybe 3 millimeters off their hair.
30 quid later.
15 quid for a little fade just up there like that. But the shops are busy. I mean, clearly there's a demand. And I think, have they not got a bad reputation? Nigel Farage coming out and saying all these barber shops are laundering money. I don't know. Are all of them doing it?
No, clearly not. Clearly not. But it's one of those routes to sheltering cash.
Right, okay.
You know, and let's not be unfair on them.
Yeah.
There's multiple things on those streets.
Yeah.
You know? takeaway foods, cafes, you name it.
Yeah.
You know, so the barbers tend to stick out because there are tons of them.
What is the most popular level that HMRC investigate? Is it 0 to 20,000? Is it 20 to 50,000? Is it 50 to 100? What bracket do HMRC really go after? What's their favourite one to go after?
The low-hanging fruit is just those people that have worked really hard to create small, medium, SME type businesses. You know, that they might be a few hundred grand turnover.
Right.
Let's say 250 and above.
Right.
They might be maxing out about 5 million quid.
Right.
In that strata there of businesses across the UK, revenue are just making their lives a misery.
Yeah.
Now, they're the people that are putting in the returns more often than not, you know?
They're the small businesses are the backbone of the country. So I see this being incredibly unjust. You've got the top tier companies offshore saving millions, billions of pounds in tax. They're not paying anything. Down at the bottom end of the economy, you've got the cash economy. They're hiding a lot of their money and they're not paying any tax. And it's the people, you and I, small business owners, regular people earning 20, 30, 40, 60,000. It's that bracket in the middle that seems to be really getting punished.
Absolutely. They're the people that are paying decent council tax as well.
Yeah.
You know, because they've got earned themselves a decent house and all the rest of it. They're paying all the tax. They're the people that are employing people that are lower down than them.
Yeah.
So they're paying the PAYE and the employer's national insurance contributions on top of everything else that they've got to find.
Exactly.
But you're not telling me that those deals that are done with the corporates, they're not bent. Absolutely bent. For us, normal taxpayers, the deals that are done at that level that deny corporation tax and everything else for this country is bent.
That is an accusation and a half. Tell me more.
Let me look at it through their lens. They're motivated not to be onshore in the UK by the political approach to tax in this country. I get that, right? So they're going to base themselves in Southern Ireland or Cyprus or somewhere like that.
Right.
That's where their HQ will be, to keep away from the UK tax system. But these people here, they will pay less corporation tax than you will this year.
Yeah.
And they're turning over billions. That can't be right.
That's criminal.
We're tolerating that.
So I think if I were Prime Minister, I would just have one simple rule. If you earn money in the UK, you pay tax in the UK. Simple as that. I would just abolish all this offshoring nonsense.
Yeah, it's not where you're based. It's,
Yeah.
You know, you're in the UK.
Yeah.
Don't matter that your bank account's in Ireland or whatever.
Yeah.
You're actually creating economic activity in this country.
Yeah.
I'd send the Prime Minister, get off to Singapore and talk to them about how they run their tax system, because it's a lot more efficient than this country.
I think you need business owners running the country that actually understand commerce, tax, they actually understand profit margins.
Yeah, the ones that aren't up their own arse, the ones that are actually doing it for the right reason, and that have got this country's interests at heart, not their own.
Yeah, exactly. You've got professors, you've got lecturers in colleges and universities that have never ran a business in their life. You've got business secretaries that have never ran a business in their life, yet they're trying to run the country. You've got Rachel Reeves, who hasn't got a clue. She's never worked in the real business world, it seems, based on her decisions. It just seems such an unfair system at the moment.
Well, the only system that seems to be is that they want to send emails about giving secrets about this country to other people in return for favours. Or cash. That's not right.
Okay, so I've gone from being a drug dealer, plumber, makeup artist. Now I am a media agency, right?
Oh, yeah.
Ajmal's media agency, and I earn £3 million a year. That's my turnover. Give me some tips to reduce my tax liability.
So, obviously, you're a limited company, right?
Yep.
I think the key point, everybody thinks the game here is to pay zero tax, right? We've just had this conversation about big business and all the rest of it. It's not about paying zero tax, it's paying the right amount of tax. Everybody's got to pay tax, otherwise the country's going to implode even faster than it is at the moment.
Yeah.
You've got to pay something, but you don't want to overpay it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're going to be a company director, you're going to have your tax-free salary allowance.
Of 12,570.
You'll get all that business. Then you get your dividends. So you're getting your first 50 grand or so away at a sensible level. Yeah. What you've got to look at is, and again, common thing that we get all the time is people don't look at where they're at in their life and what their structure is to accommodate their families and their future inheritance tax position, right? So all these things go hand in hand, because whilst the gravy train's running and you're doing very well for yourself, you're rolling up an implication for later on down the line.
Right.
Nobody ever bothers that until they're staring down the barrel of the corridor of uncertainty, end of life crisis and all that business. Right. So you've got to factor all this in. So you might be making hay, turning over 3 million, whatever you're taking out of it. You've got about 50 to play with. But then you might want to move some of that into a trust, get rollover relief by investing in other businesses that your children might be part of. You might have a holding company that you hive money up to. There's a number of ways that you can be tax efficient and pay the right amount of tax.
Dividends, allowance, trust, rollover relief, holding company, all of that's great, but it's hidden in 20,000 pages of tax code. Could that tax code just not be made a little bit simpler so you and I, regular people, actually understand, okay, for inheritance tax, this is what we need to do. The regulation is just so long and detailed. Could it not be simplified?
It's almost like they intended it to be that way on purpose. Right. But, I've got a client, he just come to the end of his business, sold it for a nice amount, did a deal. There was 3 shareholders, him, his wife and his dad. Unfortunately, dad's died within a 7-year period. So it's created a problem,
Right.
So these things are getting addressed too late. So again, it's this lateness thing coming into it.
Right.
We've got blokes burying their head in the sand, addressing their debt problems too late, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
This planning element of it, again, it is too complicated for people that are running along trying to run business. You've got to get somebody involved that can actually not just sort you out in the here and now, but sort you out for your future as well.
Right, okay, interesting. I've got loads of cash and I'm feeling very generous. I'm just going to give you £50,000 cash.
It's very kind of you.
A pleasure, right? You're a great guy, Jock. It's a pleasure. What are the tax implications for you?
You've gifted me that.
Yeah.
From earnings
that
you've paid tax on.
Right.
No issues at all.
So you don't need to declare that to HMRC or anything?
No. Well, no, you don't. You just have to document it. Just between you. Just have a record that is a gift between you and me.
Right.
Because what we see very often is that people will get later in life and then think, shit, I'm going to have all this money and I'm going to give 40% of it to the government when I die, instead of giving it to my family after working my socks off my whole life.
Interesting, right? So I've got a question here. Grandparents, very wealthy, lots of money.
Aye.
So because they've paid tax on that their whole life, they can then gift, say for example, £100,000 down to their kids or grandkids, and the kids and grandkids won't need to pay tax.
That's right, yeah. But they need to do it 7 years before they pop their clogs. There's a whole number of things around this.
Right, okay. If a grandparent gifts their kids £50,000, talk to me about the tax implications. Let's say, for example, the grandparent dies 2 years later. Do the kids have to pay tax on that?
So the gift has to run or have to exist for a 7-year window.
Right.
Yeah. Grandparents have to stick around for a bit longer.
Okay.
Yeah. There are other things that they've got to be thinking about. If they're sat on a pile of assets, if they need to enter into the social care system, their assets will pay for their care first and foremost.
Right.
That will go down faster than the proverbial, because care fees aren't cheap in this country anymore.
Right, okay.
They'll go until you're below the threshold on the assets. So if you, A, don't want to be paying for your own care if you need it, and B, if you want to look after your family, not give 40% to the government when you've finally gone, you need to be moving that cash or those assets to your family 7 years before you pop your clogs.
When it comes to inheritance, people always think, like even me, think property. What about savings? So let's say, for example...
It's the whole pot. So
that's really
your
interesting.
house is £1 million, right?
Right.
You've got £1 million in cash in the bank.
Right.
Your allowance with your spouse is about 600 grand.
Right.
So you've got 1.4 million quid 40% of which is going to go to the government. Why would you do that? Why are you denying your family that money?
So let's break this down. So for example, I've got £100,000 worth of cash as well as my properties, right? So I've got £100,000 worth of cash. I could gift that to my kids, and if I'm alive for 7 years, they don't have to pay any tax on that.
Correct. And if you're really savvy and let's say you've got rental properties, you put those into a property company. You might be the sole shareholder right now,
right?
But within 7 years or exceeding 7 years before you die, you get your kids in as shareholders, and you start diluting your shares over that period, and complete that at least 7 years before you go.
Right.
Yeah. So that they then get those assets.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So there's no implications then.
Interesting. Very interesting. I learned something new today. I thought inheritance tax was all about property, but
it's the whole part.
Applies to cash as well. Yeah. There you have it.
Everything.
I went through a phase where I claimed everything as a legitimate business expense, including my clothes.
Yeah.
Right? And the accountant said, you can't do that. And I said, you can, as long as you can justify it. So I used to work in the restaurant business, right? I used to have those old tandoori ovens, the charcoal tandoori ovens. You walk in to the kitchen, you walk back out, your clothes are really smelling. So I would have a separate set of clothes for work purposes only. And it was regular clothes. I mean, they look normal. And my accountant saying, you can't claim that. And I said, I bet you I could argue that is a legitimate business expense, because I don't wear those clothes outside. I don't go partying or go to the shops with them because they would be smelling of food.
Well, it might surprise you, but I'm on your side. I'm definitely not on your accountant's side. Right. If you've got a legitimate argument for that, for an expenditure item, now what you've got to think about is if you then wore that, at the weekend to go anywhere, there might be a benefit in kind. There might be, but I mean, come on. I'd like to think that there is some common sense in terms of interpretation.
Yep.
And things are either for business or they're not.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at it through the right lens, you can justify it. And if you can justify it, then claim it.
So I think, I can justify, like if I take the team out for dinner, if I've been out for dinner with you,
Cost a fortune.
Yeah. You can actually claim most things through your business as long as you can justify it.
Yeah. If it's in the course and furtherance of your business, which is using the old speak, that's your justification for including it.
Can I buy a brand new Rolls Royce and claim it as a genuine business expense?
I bet you wouldn't be the first person to try that. Somebody got a VAT repayment on a Lamborghini.
Right.
A client of mine just before Christmas.
Right.
Argued that it was all for the business.
Yep.
The VAT was somewhat daft. It was like nearly 100 grand of VAT on this particular car. Yeah.
And he got the payment?
He got repaid.
Right, okay. Because it could be perception management that you need that part of the business.
It could be, but I mean, you've got to scrutinise it. It might be a yacht or whatever.
Right.
How many times a year are you using that?
Yeah.
Where's it birthed? What's the berthing fees? How many times have it been out on the sea? What's it been used for? All that kind of thing.
Right.
So you might actually, when it boils down, it might be 10% of it.
Right.
Is actually for business purposes.
Right.
So again, apportionment, reasonableness, it'll all come under scrutiny. But sexy items like that will always get the attention.
What's the most interesting thing someone's claimed?
Do you know what a butt plug is?
Yeah.
Right. I've got some very interesting clients.
I think this video will get banned. Social media.
You asked the question.
Social media is not going to like this one. So basically, you can claim anything then, including.
Yeah, I'm not decided whether it was legitimately in the course and furtherance of his business, but that's how he described it on the invoice.
I want my business to make £0 profit this year, next year, and for the next 3-4 years. And the reason I want to make £0 profit is whatever profit there is, I want to invest that back into the growing business to make sure I maximise the chances for growing this business as much as possible. Can that be seen as a red flag by HMRC if a company is just for 2, 3, 4 years just making 0, 0, 0?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Right.
You're not in the course of business to not make any profit.
I'm in the course of business to grow a business.
So what expenses are you incurring in your business that's eating up your P&L to kill your profit?
For example, we did a trade show last year, £75,000 we spent on one stand for 2 days. All this media equipment, increasing the size of the team, improving the types of machinery that we use in store. So
are you taking wages out?
Yeah, minimal. I'm doing this for the business challenge of growing the business as much as I can. And when we're up to 1, 2, 3, 400 shops, that's when I get paid. That's the way I'm approaching this business. But what you're saying is, in the meantime, if I'm declaring 0, 0, 0, I could potentially get flagged by HMRC.
It would get attention.
Right.
But let's go back to the Silicon Valley model.
Yeah.
Right. You're never going to make a profit.
Yeah.
For your 5-year project.
Exactly.
It's all dead money.
Yep.
It's all gone seed money into
Yep.
the business to get that exponential growth. So I think one of the key things that I always say to clients is it's consistency of profile.
Right.
If the profile's of a particular fit, if you're getting VAT repayments from day one,
Yeah.
and you're always going to get VAT repayments, and they come out and they inspect on the first VAT repayment,
Right.
but you explain what your business is about, and the next 24 months is going to be like this until we get to that point, and then it's going to flip.
Yeah.
As long as they know that, and you set the expectation,
Okay.
they'll back off.
Okay. Okay, that's really interesting. That's the strategy here. It's a Silicon Valley strategy. Not really interested in making money and then cashing out dividends and going on a fancy holiday and lying on a beach. Yeah. This is like a project, a 5-year project, 10-year project. We just go all in and build an amazing company. That's the plan.
Yeah, I get that, and yeah, I don't put you in the same envelope as the geeks from Silicon Valley. They get a back of a fact packet idea.
Yeah.
They get angel investment for like squillions of quid and don't make any money for the next like 20 years. You know.
Exactly. There's a term that everyone would have heard of, which is called, that's daylight robbery. That came from the window tax. And if you drive around Glasgow, you'll know this. If you drive around Glasgow, you see some windows that are bricked up. There used to be a tax on daylight in this country between 1696 and 1851. They're based on the number of windows, and if there was too much daylight coming in, they would actually block up the windows to pay less tax. That's where the term daylight robbery came from. Did you know that?
Well, and even Dick Turpin wore a mask, unlike revenue these days. You know, they're shameless.
So HMRC are all over the British public. Are there any areas where they're on the back foot?
They've always banged on and on and on about supply chain fraud. Now, that always used to be phones and chips and carousel fraud. Then it moved into cans of Coke. Then it went into luxury watches, scrap metal, you name it. Now, they've always hidden behind a principle with these cases called Kittle. It was a European decision years ago.
Kittle, Kittle.
Yeah,
Right.
EL, yeah.
All right, Kittle.
And it's dead simple. Basically, if somebody farts on the other side of the moon, you're responsible for that because you should have known about it.
Right.
Right. Unless you're Mystic Meg, you've got zero chance of knowing anything about.
Explain that in real terms. So
you buy stuff off somebody and sell it to somebody else.
Right.
In your supply chain, whether it's 3 down, 5 down,
right.
4 above, whatever.
Right, I bought these microphones, right? So translate that, what you're saying, translate that into...
The guy that sold those microphones to you
Yep.
has now gone missing, having claimed all the VAT.
Right.
You're responsible for that.
I'm responsible.
You're responsible. You should have known that he was bent.
But I just bought them off a high street shop.
It doesn't matter. You should have known better.
Right.
It's what they would argue.
Right.
Right? Now, they will come and they'll examine all your KYC.
KYC stands for?
Know your customer.
Know your customer.
All the checks that you've done before you've made that buying decision. How did you know that guy was absolutely pucker, right? So you do your anti-money laundering checks, you get his VAT certificate, passport, driving licence, home address, all the KYC pack stuff that you would normally expect.
Just rewind that. You said get their VAT, their, what was it, the
The
KYC?
VAT certificate, and home address, their passport details, their driving licence.
That's nonsense. Let's say, for example, I'm selling these microphones.
Yeah.
And you come to me and say, right, Ajmal, I want to buy 1,000 of these microphones. I want your home address, your whatever it is you're saying, your VAT certificate, your...
Yeah, do you know that you're genuine?
Yeah, I would say, on your bike, I don't have time for that.
Well, they'll come, and if that guy goes missing, they will claim all the VAT that you've claimed back, they'll claim it back again. The irony in all this is that they will come to people and they will examine all these checks that you ought to be conducting.
Yep.
Right. Meanwhile, my question to them is, what checks have you done, HMRC?
Yeah.
Because you've let that guy in the front door.
Yeah.
Your front door's wide open. You're giving these people VAT registrations, but you're expecting the taxpayers to have better checks than you.
Yeah.
Can't be right, can it?
Nonsense. I mean, I mean, for a small business to carry out all of these checks and to have the documentation, that's yet another burden.
A massive onerous thing on top of trying to earn a living every day. Now, fortunately, the courts are starting to catch on.
Right.
And some of the better judges are making decisions that are saying, this kettle thing's had its day, it's had its chips and it's gone.
Right, okay.
So this guy's done as much, apart from getting a blood sample, he's done everything that he can reasonably do to satisfy himself that that's a proper supplier. You can't do any more than that.
Yeah.
So then now these tribunal cases are getting overturned.
Okay, that's
Thank
good.
God.
Yeah, good. That's interesting. And even from like our perspective, from Boss Pizza's point of view, we're selling franchises to various people. We don't have the appetite nor the overhead nor the resources to go into a deep investigation for every single franchisee that wants to actually invest into Boss Pizza.
Be careful.
What level should I be doing that ticks the boxes and keeps HMRC happy?
I can send you the textbook pack, but you need to be knowing where these people are getting their money from. How are they investing in your business? Because they're taking a franchise from you.
Yeah.
Where did that money come from?
Right.
How can they justify that cash
Right.
to pay for that initial onboarding,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera? You've almost got to become paranoid of the people that you're dealing with, even the people you're selling to,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things in the waste disposal businesses and scrap metals where people will act as brokers. So they never see the physical stuff.
Yeah.
They just buy, sell, move, haulage firm, etc.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so Jock from Vatable, ex-HMRC investigator / inspector. Has been a fascinating conversation. You've really answered so many of the burning questions that we had from our viewers. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Ajmal.
Nice one. Thank you. That was great.